Joseph Busha of Busha Investments joins us now to discuss these movements further. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Mr. Busha. Not a great start to the week on the local bourse. I mentioned there in my intro that one of the biggest laggards on the day was heavyweight Naspers, down over 13%, Prosus down 11%. But then we did see some broad-based losses across the resources, financials as well. Your thoughts on the movements that we saw today?
The JSE down 2.4, the top 40 down about 2.7. The industrial index itself down about 3%, as you said, pulled down by heavyweight Naspers and Prosus, all down, above 10% due to the issues in China. So Tencent might face the biggest fine yet. Because they say, their platform, WePayChat, which basically 40% of the Chinese money is transferred through that platform, are found to have been non-compliant. And the issue really there is that they're supposed to identify users and the merchants that use their platform. Remember last year or just a year before, China started cracking down on these tech companies in education and gambling. And this has certainly put down Tencent about 7% down, and obviously following Naspers and Prosus. So this dragged the JSE and the geopolitical issues in Russia, Ukraine, as you said, also aiding to the wars of the industrial index. Sasso itself down about 3.9%. And you saw that crude oil is down about 7% to 103 after reaching a high of about $130 per barrel just last week. So I think it's not really good, but there are some cheers. The rand holding very well despite all the volatility and upheavals that is happening in the market.
No, absolutely. Just before we get into some company updates that were released this afternoon, Mr. Busha, I just want us to reflect a little further on the price of Brent. You did say that it's come down quite a bit from the record highs that we saw just the other week. I mean, your overall outlook on the price of Brent crude, are times still going to be tough for motorists, consumers at large who use fuel-related products with the higher increases?
We can't be celebrating yet. I think the market is very volatile and the situation also very fluid in Europe. We're not quite sure how long this Ukraine-Russia invasion is going to carry on. And the energy issues might come to the fore. As you know, Russia is one of the biggest exporters of gas into Europe. And if there's not enough gas, people will certainly turn into oil. The oil producing companies might be forced to increase prices a little bit, which will certainly bite us back here home in SA, as petrol prices will again rise, and we fear that it might actually touch above 24 rands per litre. So I think it's not time to celebrate yet. We just need to be able to monitor the events and be very cautious in terms of how we spend.
Absolutely. Company results out now. We had ABSA, which showed a very strong recovery, pre-pandemic levels in the profits that they released today. And Mr. Busha, it talks a lot to the health of the consumer, because they were at pains to mention that working on the bad debt book had declined, as well as consumers who default on payments. That was a non-issue this time around. You are seeing that their customers are keeping up to date with their obligations with the bank. So overall, one would say that it's somewhat of a positive consumer story, the ABSA results today.
Very, very positive, and I think very positive for SA economy and very positive for the financial sector. This follows Standard Bank's results that came through, also posting good numbers. So you're looking at your EPS and stuff above 100%. Their income grew by about 9%, and their loans and advances grew by 6%, which means people are borrowing and they're advancing a little bit of some lending. And this is because we were at record lows in terms of interest rates. But I think, we just still need to be cautious, because the increase cycle might start coming up, and we just need to be cautious. But I think all the banks, financial institutions, have benefited from low interest rates, and certainly people being able to borrow at lower rates.
No, absolutely. And then Sun International, people definitely having a good time at the casinos, Mr. Busha, and that showed in the results that the casino part of the business produced for Sun International.
People are going back, they're going out. We've seen them dining. I mean, you just drive along Oxford, you certainly see that. Their profits up 80%, revenue 29%. That really just shows, and across all their segments, they showed a little bit of some improvement and people going back. And I think people are just getting used to staying with the COVID. And this is really just augurs well for the SA economy, as you've seen that all around, whether we're talking resources, the financials, and the retailers are returning to profitability. And some of them to pre-COVID levels, but certainly I think it's a very, very, very positive move. We just hope some of our internal issues like energy, which is electricity, and the oil price won't spoil the party as we see inflation that might start, being stubborn again after a slight improvement on the last recording.
And of course, just the permanent lifting of the national state of disaster is going to be crucial for this particular sector, Mr. Busha. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Joseph Busha of J.M. Busha Investment Group, joining us to unpack the day that was on the market. So